Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to discuss about rectus sheath. Rectus sheath is a strong fibroaponeurotic sheath covering the rectus abdominis muscle and also the pyramidalis if present. This is important question from examination point of view. Let me remind you. The rectus sheath has been asked frequently in the university examinations. Now this fibroaponeurotic sheath, which is covering the rectus abdominis muscle on either side of the linea alba, is known as the rectus sheath. So in the midline you can see this is the linea alba. So on either side of the linea alba there is a fibroaponeurotic sheath covering the rectus abdominis muscle and also the pyramidalis. This is known as the rectus sheath. Rectus sheath is an aponeurotic envelope for rectus abdominis and pyramidalis muscle. Rectus abdominis is been discussed in the previous lecture, so I am not going to explain regarding the rectus abdominis. We will focus only on the rectus sheath. Okay, as you can see in this cadaveric image, the fibroaponeurotic sheath covering the straight muscle which is known as the rectus abdominis. Now it is situated on either side of the linea alba. So this midline, linea is nothing but the line. So this midline is known as the linea alba. So the location of rectus sheath is on either side of the linea alba. So you can see here the rectus sheath. The rectus sheath is been removed on this side. Now the function of rectus sheath is to strengthen the anterior abdominal wall and prevents the bowstringing of the rectus abdominis muscle. Now this sheath consists of anterior and posterior walls. As you can see in this picture, this is the anterior wall of the rectus sheath. Posteriorly we have the posterior wall of the rectus sheath, and two margins we have the medial margin and the lateral margin. Now coming to the margins of the rectus sheath, the medial margin is formed by the linea alba. As you can see in this image, the medial margin of the rectus sheath is formed by linea alba, whereas the lateral margin is formed by linea semilunaris. So this is the medial wall of the rectus sheath which is formed by the linea alba, and the lateral wall of the rectus sheath is formed by linea semilunaris. Coming to the formation of rectus sheath, the manner in which the sheath is formed varies at different levels. Now rectus sheath is formed by splitting of internal oblique aponeurosis at the lateral border of rectus abdominis muscle. Now the formation of rectus sheath, the anterior wall, it is complete but differs in thickness at different levels. As you can see in this picture, this is the anterior wall of the rectus sheath. Now in the region above the costal margin, it is thin and it is formed by the aponeurosis of external oblique muscle. So you can see here the external oblique and its aponeurosis. So they form the anterior wall of the rectus sheath above the costal margin. Now in the region from costal margin to midway between umbilicus and pubic symphysis, it is thicker and formed by anterior lamellae of the internal oblique aponeurosis with the aponeurosis of external oblique. This is midway between the umbilicus and symphysis pubis, the formation. Now in the region between the midpoint of umbilicus and pubic symphysis, or you can say rectus sheath, the formation of rectus sheath between the midpoint of umbilicus and pubic symphysis to pubic crest. It is the thickest and formed by the fusion of aponeurosis of all three muscles of the abdomen, that is external oblique, internal oblique and transversus abdominis. Now here the anterior wall is formed by the aponeurosis of all three flat muscles. The aponeurosis of transverse abdominis and internal oblique are fused, as you can see in this picture, but the aponeurosis of external oblique is remain separated. Now anterior wall of the rectus sheath is adherent to the anterior surface of the rectus abdominis muscle along three tendinous intersections. You might have seen in the previous lecture the intersections of the rectus abdominis muscle. Okay, so this is the formation of the anterior wall of the rectus sheath at different levels. This is important, you have to remember. Now coming to the formation of the posterior wall of the rectus sheath. In the region above the costal margin, in this region the posterior wall is deficient. So you cannot see the posterior wall of the rectus sheath above the costal margin. And the rectus abdominis directly rests on 5th, 6th and 7th costal cartilages. The posterior wall of the rectus sheath is deficient here because the transverse abdominis muscle passes internal to the costal cartilages and the internal oblique is attached to the costal margin. Now, in the region from the costal margin to midway between umbilicus and pubic symphysis, the aponeurosis, or you can say the posterior wall of the rectus sheath, is formed by posterior lamellae of the aponeurosis of internal oblique and with the aponeurosis of the transverse abdominis muscle. A crescentic border called the arcuate line marks the inferior limit of the posterior wall of the rectus sheath. So that I will show you in the next slide what is arcuate line. So a crescentic border called arcuate line marks the inferior limit of the posterior wall of the rectus sheath. So it is usually midway between the umbilicus and the pubic crest. Now below the level of arcuate line, the formation of rectus sheath, the anterior wall is formed by the aponeurosis of all three flat muscles. The aponeurosis of transverse abdominis and internal oblique are fused, but the aponeurosis of external oblique remains separate. This we have already discussed in the anterior wall of the in the formation of anterior wall of the rectus sheath. Whereas below the arcuate line the posterior wall is deficient. You cannot make out the posterior wall of the rectus sheath below the arcuate line. So let us see the sagittal section of the rectus sheath and the formation of anterior and posterior wall of the rectus sheath. Now this is above the costal margin, the posterior wall is deficient, whereas anterior wall of the rectus sheath, it is formed by aponeurosis of external oblique muscle. Between the costal margin and the umbilicus, the anterior wall, it is formed by aponeurosis of external oblique and the anterior lamina of the aponeurosis of internal oblique. Whereas posterior wall, it is formed by posterior lamina of the aponeurosis of internal oblique and aponeurosis of transversus abdominis muscle. Now below the arcuate line, the posterior wall is deficient, whereas anterior wall It is formed by posterior lamina of the aponeurosis of internal oblique and aponeurosis of transversus abdominis muscle. Now coming to the contents of the rectus sheath. So as I have told you that this is the location of arcuate line where you see the absence of or the deficient posterior wall of the rectus sheath below the arcuate line. Now what are the contents of the rectus sheath? Muscles, we have two muscles inside the rectus sheath, the rectus abdominis and as well as the pyramidalis. Blood vessels, we have superior epigastric artery and the inferior epigastric artery. The nerves, the terminal parts of lower fifth intercostal nerves and the subcostal nerves. So these are the contents of the rectus sheath. Let us see what is linea alba and linea semilunaris. Linea alba, it is a tendinous raphe in the midline of the anterior abdominal wall. Now this linea alba, it is produced by interlacement of aponeurotic fibers of three flat muscles of the abdomen, right? So it is an extensive aponeurosis which extends from the xiphoid process up to the pubic symphysis. So these are the attachments of the linea alba. Above it is attached to the tip of the xiphoid process and below it is attached to the pubic symphysis. Now what are the expansions of this linea alba? It has two expansions. One is the suspensory ligament of penis. The superficial fibers of linea alba passing in front of the pubic symphysis gets attached to the dorsal surface of the body of the penis. So those are nothing but the suspensory ligament of penis, right? Next we have admeniculum linea alba. Deep fibers of the linea alba present a triangular expansion that passes behind the rectus abdominis muscle and gets attached to the pubic crest. So these are the two expansions of the linea alba. One is suspensory ligament of penis and the other is admeniculum linea alba. Then what is this linea semilunaris? So the lateral margin of the rectus abdominis, it is marked by a line of the anterior abdominal wall called the linea semilunaris. Coming to the applied anatomy, the anatomical basis of abdominal incisions, midline incisions. It is made through linea alba. Linea alba provides almost bloodless line along which the abdomen can be opened. The disadvantage is that it leads to post-operative weakness and herniation may occur. Paramedian incision is placed 1 to 1.5 inch lateral and parallel to the midline. The anterior wall of the rectus sheath is opened. The rectus abdominis muscle is displaced laterally to avoid injury to the nerves supplying the rectus abdominis. And the posterior wall of the rectus sheath along with fascia transversalis and the peritoneum is then incised. Now rectus abdominis should be retracted laterally to avoid injury to the nerves that pierce the sheath laterally. Now what is the subcostal incision? It is used on the right side for gallbladder surgery and on the left for exposure of spleen. The skin incisions begins at midline and extends parallel and to 1 inch below the costal margin. Now muscle split or grid iron incision, the McBurney's incision we say. So this is subcostal incision, this is midline incision where you incise the linea alba, this is paramedian incision, and this is McBurney's incision. Now what is this McBurney's incision? A transverse incision in the line of the skin crease 1 inch above and forward from the anterior superior iliac spine. So this is anterior superior iliac spine, 1 inch above and forward from the anterior superior iliac spine, or an oblique incision centered at McBurney's point along the line from anterior superior iliac spine to the umbilicus. So this you will study in the appendix, what is this McBurney's point. Okay. Now the aponeurosis of external oblique is incised obliquely downwards and medially. The internal oblique and transverse muscles are then split in the line of their fibers and retracted without dividing their fibers. On closing the incision, these muscles snap together, leaving almost undamaged anterior abdominal wall. So dear friends, with this we have completed the rectus sheath, the definition of the rectus sheath, the formation of the rectus sheath, and the contents of the rectus sheath, and applied anatomy related to the rectus sheath. Thank you very much.